Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar on the Legend tool inside of the Greytech PowerPack for Revit. For those of you that don't know me, and I know some of you have attended some of my other webinars before, my name's Simon Dickinson. I'm the BIM Technical Manager for Greytech here in the UK. I've been with Greytech now for 19 years, and I've been a big advocate of BIM for the past 18 at least. I'm an Autodesk certified professional and also an Autodesk certified instructor. There's my email address. If you've got any questions relating to this webinar, feel free to get in touch and feel free to join me on LinkedIn at sdickinson1. For those of you that don't know about Greytech and who we actually are, Greytech as a company now over 30 years old, and our headquarters in Paris, operating in 11 different countries and currently 49 offices worldwide. We're a healthy company. We've managed to survive the pandemic this year, which has been good. We're very strong, and we are always expanding the business. We have currently over 550 staff globally, of which 100 of them are actually based in our R&D centre in Romania. That's where our main developers are, and they're the people that actually write the PowerPack for Revit, along with our other internal products that we develop as well. We're very much customer-centric. You know, at the end of the day, customers are key to us, so we really appreciate you guys. And so we always put you first, and you know we pride ourselves on trying to deliver the best training and consultancy in the industry. The business as a whole, we split into our 4 pillars. So we have the create pillar, which is basically, you think about what we do, you know, the software that we use, are we creating data? So this is where the PowerPack for Revit sits. It sits in the software, so inside of Revit, and it's basically the create software, primarily with the Autodesk, but then also we enhance that with the functionality that we can add on top of that with the Greytech PowerPacks. With our simulate business, so we've got one of our main products, advanced design, for doing structural analysis and other types of simulation in there, with the results being able to be passed back to the create products as well. We have a product called Advanced Workshop, which is one of our fabrication tools, which helps us to take our designs to the shop floor ready for fabrication. And we also have our own managed tools. So, you know, the common data environment tools, in particular our product OpenTree, which the PowerPack actually has links to. So if you're using the OpenTree document management system, we can use the PowerPack to have direct links between them platforms. So let's have a look at the Legend tool. So the Legend tool is under the documentation side of the PowerPack. So here's the PowerPack ribbon. There's 70 plus tools on there at the moment. So there's tools for every discipline. You know, the one thing that I love about the PowerPack is it's not just dedicated to structural engineers, it's not dedicated to mechanical engineers, it's not just dedicated to architects. There are tools in there for every discipline, including this Legend tool. Okay, if we take a closer look at that, there's various different buttons that we have in there for doing various different tasks to help us automate the creation of legends. And this was a tool that when it came along was brilliant to me, because I always felt that the way that legends worked inside of Revit wasn't quite right. We had a schedule tool, so we could schedule all the different types of, say, doors that we have in a project. But if I wanted to create a door legend, I had to do it manually. Why couldn't I just use like a schedule tool that listed all the different types of doors that are in a project and to do it for me? A bit like a schedule. And it amazed me that Revit didn't do that. So when we developed this tool, I was very, very happy, because that is exactly what this does. This basically helps us to automate the creation of legends inside of Revit. So as I say, these various different things we have to do to start with. So the first thing that we have to do before we use these tools is what we do is we create a legend schema. Yeah, so basically we start to create a sample display, if you like, of the information that we want to appear within our legend. So we have obviously the frame, so you've got some line work to draw, there's some text, okay, and the text can become dynamic, and the tool actually helps standard text to become dynamic, and we'll see how that works. We have a parameter value, which is the intelligent parameter. So for instance, you know, just like you would do when you were creating a schedule, the parameter value is the bit of information related to the category of schedule you're creating that you want to display. So width, height, type mark. Yeah, so we can start to do that. We also have in there something called the dimension frame. Now, it's a bit hard to see as a dimension frame. All you can actually see is the dimensions that are in there, the 910 and the 2102. But in reality, there's actually a smart frame around that door, so that when the legend is generated, as the door sizes change within our legend, the legend frame will automatically adjust size as well, and the dimensions will update accordingly as well. And then, of course, we've got the graphical description in there of the object that we're trying to display. Now, if you've done legends before, you'll know that we can have an elevation view, we can have a plan view, and it doesn't matter if you want both or just one. We can actually generate the legend with them in, and I'll show you that working. So I mentioned this idea of this this parameter value, this smart parameter. So the first thing that we do when we start is we can choose the category when we start to create this legend. So the category that we want to use. Now, you can select multiple categories at the same time. You just have to be careful, because if you were adding certain parameters like width and height, they're, believe it or not, although they're the same for doors and windows, they're linked to different categories. So we've just got to be a little bit careful that the fields that we're using are common across all the categories. Otherwise, it can mess up some of the annotation. But if you just wanted a graphical legend with dimensions on of all the doors and windows, then we can do that in one go. We don't need to do it twice. We then have them smart parameters. Now, there's a really nice feature, and I'll show you this when I give you an example. We only need to start with, you can start with a minimum of one smart parameter, but then have multiple parameters in here, and it will automatically generate a column for each of these. So in here you see we've got the panel height, the panel width, panel thickness, etc. That we've pulled that information across. The description, yeah, so we could put a description in there if you've got that information filled out. If you've got parameters in there in your project, so say for instance you've got Kobe parameters or custom parameters within your project, then we can also push them custom parameters across into the selected parameters and actually use them as well. Okay, so as I say, we can start to do that. You can also customize how them parameters are displayed as well. So we can stick an initial value in there just to see how it works, and it can be anything that we want it to be, and that. Okay, and here we go. We select the elements that we wish to repeat. So here I'm just selecting that edge column based on all the parameters set up, and then it will actually generate this. The schema will be expanded automatically based on them values. And we can modify them as well. So you can go back in, you can remove them. We can even go back in and add new ones, as I'll show you shortly. Okay, then we can go back in again. Yeah, we select the elements that we wish to repeat in here. And then once we've selected all the elements to repeat, it will then go away and it will generate our legend for us. And the final tool that was in the list, which I'll show you later on, was the copy of legend unit. And this is really useful because there's a little bit of time done in just setting up the basic format. Not as long as it, nowhere near as long as it takes us to create a legend in Revit using the standard Revit tools. But what we can then do is we can save that as a template. So then when you start a new project, we can actually start a legend by using an existing one, change some of the fields, some of the parameters, but the hard work's already been done. So we can almost use these as templates for future projects as well. Okay, so let's nip over into Revit. So here we are inside of Revit. Here's the PowerPack, 70 plus tools and growing, as I've mentioned before. Under our documentation, here's our legend tool, currently grayed out because obviously it works inside of a legend. So the first thing we need to do is go to View, Legend, and let's start a new legend. Okay, so let's call it Legend 2. Okay, and here we are. So the first thing that we need to do is we do need to sort of set up the basics of the legend that we want to create. So it's not too much for us to do, but if we just go to our Annotate tab, and let's go to our legend component. Here we have a door. Let's change that to the front elevation. So let's put a front elevation in there, and let's have a plan in there as well. I've just changed the host length, say to 2 meters, and there we go. Okay, let's just build the frame around there. So very quickly, I'm going to cheat. Let's just start to build our legend up. So I want a column here, I want another column there, and one here, and then we just need space for the headers. Let's just put the headers in there as well. Okay, a little bit of text in there, just for a couple of the columns. I'm going to use our parameter, our legend parameter, to auto-generate some of the other stuff. So I'm just going to put text in there. This one's going to be the elevation. This one's going to be the plan. And this one's going to be text again. You'll see what's going on here. Okay, so we now have the basic setup. I'm just going to move that to the side just so we've got some space for some dimensions in a second. Okay, so there's my basic schema setup. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my PowerPack and into my documentation, into legend, and here's all the legend tools. So we've got 3 tools at the top for creating the various elements, and then the 3 tools at the bottom here are various tools that we can use. So one of the first ones I'm going to do is a legend parameter. I'm just going to come in. I'm just going to place a legend parameter here. Okay, so this is a smart block, if you like. Let's just so let's say 1500, and just make sure we've got some form of control. Let's set that to 3 meters. Okay, so we've now got this smart parameter in here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in our dimension frame. Okay, so let's add a dimension frame in. These are pretty cool, these. So I'm just going to place that here to start with. Okay, so just move it out of the way, and I'm going to dimension that. So let's add some dimensions onto here. Okay, there we go. And then what I'm going to do is let's just select all that. I'm going to move that up into here. Okay, and then what I can do is I can actually adjust this frame now to actually match the door itself. So let's just pull that in and pull that there. I don't need to lock it or anything like that. I just need to align it, and it will intelligently move now with that. Okay, let's just adjust it to make it fit in that space a little bit neater. There we go. Okay, so we've now got our intelligent parameter value, excuse me, and then we also have our dimension frame. So now that I've got that sorted, let's just go back into here, into our legend tool, and now we can create or modify. So I'm going to go create and just cancel that a second. I had something selected. I don't want that to be selected. I need to select all the elements. So create, here we go. It's asking me to select all the elements. You can pre-select them. And it is going to be a door. You can select multiple categories, but you have got to watch out, because when we start to add parameters in there, parameters are quite unique to certain elements. So even like the width and the height settings, they are unique to doors as parameters. So you've got to be careful that if you were doing like doors and windows and you wanted the width and the height it would become a bit awkward just because of the way that Revit works. So for this, we'll just do doors. Select the parameters. So this is now where we want to select the parameters we want in here. So I'm just going to come in and we can now start to select the parameters. So what I'm after is I want the width, and as you can see, it's type, it links it to the category. So I want the width, and I want the height. Now you might be thinking, well, you've only put one parameter in, yeah? But this is where it gets smart. So height, and we could add in any other information, as you can see, all the other relevant parameters, and also any custom parameters that I've set up as well, we can actually use. So for this example, we'll just use the width and the height in this case, and click OK. Select the elements to repeat. So the distance is going to be 1500. So basically that's the width of this column, if you like. So we'll select the elements to repeat, which are going to be them. And there you go. And you can see it's started to rename it. Ignore the fact that it's Mr. T off of height. It's just because it's in the process of setting that up. As soon as I click OK, it will rectify that. And as I say, you could have added as many parameters in there as you like. Now, obviously over here, I haven't got one. So what I might want to do is here again, is let's add another one of these legend parameters in. Okay. And we'll place that in there. And we can actually update this as well. So I could say, right, let's go back in. Let's do the modify the legend unit parameters. Select it again. And now what I could do is I could add maybe it's type marking. So here we go. Type mark. Add that over. It's red because currently it's not configured. Highlight the one I need and assign to an element of the drawing, and we simply select the text and also the smart parameter. It understands that that's in there. Click OK, and it automatically changes the text at the top as well. So our header's done. Okay, so there we go. We've now got the legend set up. The next thing to do is we now need to generate our full legend. Now this is where the time saving comes. It's not taking me that long. I've only done one. Now if you were doing this manually in Revit, you're going to have to set up each one of these in turn. You're going to have to get the information out of it. That's, you know, there's no intelligence in the way that Revit does these. You know, you've got to manually look at what the widths and the heights are and manually enter all of this information. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to go to my documentation, to legend, and we will create the legend itself. Okay. Let me cancel that. So again, I've got something selected. I just want to make sure I've got the whole of all the elements selected. And into here. And let's create it. Okay, so in here is a couple of things. We can filter out information we don't want. I'm going to do this for all the doors. I could get rid of the curtain wall doors, for instance, because of the way that they work, as you'll see shortly. I can set the distance up for the repeat in here, which is 3 meters. That's the distance for the height of our information frame. Then I basically need to select the header elements. Okay, so I go select, and we select the information of the header. This is the information that's going to repeat at the top of each column. Once I'm happy with that, just hit the finish on the selection. Set my page size in here. Okay. And then what we can then do is once I click OK, it will think about it for a bit. We'll probably get a not responding, which is obviously standard Revit for wait a bit longer. And this will now go through and it will generate each of the elements for me. Okay. And there we go. There is a small issue here. You see, it's moaning about some dimensions. And the issue there is actually with, if we go over to this side, yeah, it's to do with curtain wall doors, and it's just the way that the curtain wall panels are depicted in the legend. It shows them as the size that they are in the family editor. However, it does give you the correct size. So the width and the height are correct for that door size. A little bit more awkward because obviously this is going to generate multiple versions of the same element. Yeah, and the reason being is just because of the difference in the sizes, because it's a curtain wall door, and obviously width and height on a curtain wall door, an instance parameter. Yeah. And as you can see there, it's, you know, the speed and the time that saves is amazing. You know, there's a few weird ones. We've got this concertina door, which is obviously a little bit big, you know, understandable, but to be able to generate all that information in a matter of minutes, you know, rather than it taking you an hour to start to generate that. You know, in a bigger building with more types of doors, maybe you wanted to do this from an instance point of view, and every single variation of door can be listed. You know, very, very quick and very, very time saving in the way that this works. And of course, with then, you know, if I went into here, we've then also got the copy of the Legend unit as well. So that would allow me to use this as a template to create duplicates of it as well. So some really powerful tools in there. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the question box now, and I will do my best to answer all the questions. Oh, excellent. Cool. So thank you for joining me today. So thanks for watching. Do follow us on social media. We do post an awful lot of content out there. We're very active on Twitter and LinkedIn, and very active on Facebook as well. We do have a YouTube channel, so do check in there for some of our other webinars. So again, thanks ever so much for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you very soon on one of our next webinars.
Greytech.